try to make other kids love reading and write.
And this was when you were 4, right?
Well, I started writing when I was 4, but I started going around to schools when I was 6.
Okay, so you started teaching, let's say, about 6 or 7.
Yes.
And what do you teach? You still teach till now, right?
Yes. The way I teach is often I'll connect with students in classes around the world through video conferencing. So one day I could be speaking to kids in New Jersey, the next day kids in Costa Rica. And I once video conference with Dubai and some students on leadership. So I have had all these students across the world.
Okay, and what do you teach?
Language arts primarily, so lots about writing, how we write, what makes writing interesting as well as reading, and now also about leadership, social studies.
And obviously you're here before we get to that, tell me a bit about your work with the World Food Program.
Yes, I recently I began working with the World Food Program as a youth representative, and what I do is I reach out to youth and I ask them what's good for you, and what are their problems and what can they all do to help. And one of the ways it is so easy for kids, especially those of us who may not have the opportunity to donate, but what we can do is go to freerice.com, let's say, where you have trivia questions where you can answer and then sponsors will donate rice. So lots of using social networking and tools that we know really well to help. And so getting other kids to realize why there is such a big problem still, how they can be a solution.
And education without borders, what do you think of it? What are we going to be talking about? What do you hope to take away from it?
Well, I was just really excited by the opportunity of going to Education Without Borders, not only because it would be a chance to go to Dubai and a very sweet whole idea of going here again, but also because I really genuinely care about reaching out to students and taking action on the world's pressing problems, which is part of what their goal is to get these thought leaders together and get these students together to take action. And so this is something I thought, this is what I'm trying to do, and I think I have a message that would resonate with audience.
So what are you going to be addressing in your speech?
Well, my speech is taking an interesting, it's both showing these examples of youth over time who really push the envelope, who have gone beyond what limits that are being set for them, as well as the idea that these things, a lot of negative words, which adults call naive, impulsive, way too connected online, these are the things that we can turn these so-called weaknesses into strengths, which will actually help us. So, giving a speech to these young people and telling them, next time someone calls you naive, take it as a compliment.
And you're 14.
13 actually. I'll be turning 14 in October.
So what's it like being you? And the world's youngest teacher, the world's youngest child. What's it like?
It sometimes takes a lot of explaining. I've been at conferences where people have been looking at me with a quizzical expression. I can tell that, what is a 13-year-old doing at this education conference where there are mostly superintendents and teachers and principals. But even with all the explaining that I sometimes have to do, it's very rewarding and it really gives me a chance to connect with people and have these really fulfilling moments where I know I made a difference.
Okay. Do you find it challenging? You're a very busy little girl. You live your life as if it was an adult. Right? You work, you study, you go to school, right? So do you feel like you're missing out on a childhood? Is it challenging? What are the challenges and obviously what's the positives?
There's positives and negatives. One thing is that I really don't feel like I'm missing out because I am still one of those friends. I still talk to other people my age, and a lot of people have this conception that, if you're a teacher, if you're doing all this good work, then somehow you must be isolated from other young people. But that's not true because I actually organized an event last year. We had all speakers under the age of 16, all kids in the audience, and it was everyone who had done great things. And so I think I just have an added element. And what really represents is if you ever look at my Facebook wall, you see that I've both been posting things about, support this nonprofit, support this, advocate this, and also posting funny things on friends. So I got
And what would you say is the most challenging? What you do, who you are?
One of the most challenging things would probably be the explanatory element. How I always have to explain, I'm here because of this. And that's something that I really want to change, is the idea that young people doing great things is an exception, when really ordinary. I think that there are a lot of kids who could really benefit from adults in the same books.
And the adult-child or adult-kid relationship, what's wrong with it in your mind?
Well, I think what's wrong with it right now is that there's too little of a balance between, okay, you have to respect your elders, and these people have gone through many years of life and have lots of valuable knowledge to teach you, and I completely agree with that. But at the same time, I think some people take a too hard line approach, where they're saying kids have nothing to teach me. They're young. They don't think like adults. They don't have a rational mind yet. They don't really experience any of the complex emotions which we do. And studies have shown over and over again that's not true. And kids really do feel and think on a very high level. And kids are often really our conscience. We think of, politicians always say we need to keep this budget low so that kids tomorrow don't have to pay off our debts. We always reference kids, and yet we rarely ask their opinion.
What do you, in terms of, you're 13, you're beginning of adolescence, I would say, obviously. In terms of youth, like, young adults, people older than you, 18, 19, 20, what do you think of them? What do you think, is there university students, is there anything wrong with them? Do you know what I mean? What's your opinion of them? Are they under challenged? Are they just,
University students in particular, and this is something that I've addressed in my speech actually, is I think this is a group which they're on the brink of applying to internships and jobs, and yet they're old enough where they can apply to jobs, but they're still young enough where they may be discriminated against. You don't have enough experience, you're really not qualified, and all of these things, and that's something I bring up in my speech, when really the fact is our inexperience might be what gives us the ability to teach our elders something.
how so?
The fact that we're not jaded, we're not cynical, I'm not going to be able to improve reading levels in this district because I studied and shown this and this. We're just going to be like, as I did, I'm going to make other kids love reading and writing.
Okay.
That inexperience can allow us to teach adults.
Do you find that you're exceptional? Do you find that you're actually not super smart, but you just applied yourself fully? Do you know what I mean? Do you find that it's something other kids should be able to do, and teenagers older than you, university students, are not applying themselves fully? They're kind of wasting their time with other things. Is that something?
Yeah, a lot of people have pegged it down to, she's a prodigy, she's a genius, etc., etc. I don't really like those terms because I know a lot of people who are smarter than I am. Sadly, I would love to be, the cleverest child, as I always once called, but I know that I'm not. But I think that a lot of it is I'm, relatively talented in a certain area, writing and reading, and I applied that. I said I'm going to use this to help others, and I think that if we all took our own individual talents, whether it's teaching or skateboarding or mathematics or whatever it is, not necessarily scholastic, but some kind of skill, and we applied that and we helped others and shared our knowledge and understood that we can learn from those who are both older and younger than us, then we could have a better world.
And what's wrong with the world, in your opinion? I remember when I was your age, I used to think so much wrong with the world. I still do, but what do you think? What's wrong with it?
Well, this is one of the things that I feel a little bad about, because I'm speaking about adults can learn from young people and kids in this naivete, in this hope to improve the world, and the world isn't so bad that we can improve it. But when it comes to that, I watch the news enough that I get a little bit cynical about, well, obviously there's war, there's conflict, there's all kinds of issues. One of the big ones, I think, for me personally, is I really take issue with the way kids are treated around the world. But I also, I really speak up about girls' rights and hunger and issues like that. I think that we can't continue to live in a world where some people have just, I've managed to, the hotel where I'm staying is very nice, for instance. It's beautiful, I love it, but I feel a little bad sometimes staying in a hotel, let's say in India, when there are homeless people walking outside. So I think that we can't live in a world where it's so unequal, and I think so that inequality is one of our biggest issues.
Okay. Who would you say your role model is?
My role models, I have many role models, a lot of strong women throughout history. One of my biggest role models would be Eleanor Roosevelt, just as an amazing American woman, because even though she was the wife of a president, she didn't allow that to diminish her own role. She still continued her teaching and her writing and driving around, didn't want Secret Service agents, and doing a lot of good work. So she embodied a lot of the characteristics that I hope to see in myself.
Okay. And what's the future for you? Now you're 13. You're in school, right? You're in junior high, is it?
I'm actually starting my first year of high school this year, although I didn't skip 2 grades. So.
Okay, perfect. So you're gonna go on to university and get a proper job, or is this like, you are obviously, it's not, well, it is a proper job, I didn't mean it the way it sounded, but are you gonna go on to university, and what do you want to study?
Yeah, I do want to go into university. I'm going to certainly have a hard time settling for a major, and I was asking my parents the other day, basically, is it possible to quadruple major? I'm pretty sure I might be a little too stressful. I think probably something related to the fields of education, history, and literature are my 3 biggest ones. So something from there. I wish there were a major that brought them all together, but along with it.
So when you're 18 or 20, what do you see your life like? Are you gonna, is this your life's long work? Teaching, campaigning, being an activist for, world crisis, world issues? Is this what you're gonna continue doing?
I think so, yes. I do really want to continue my advocacy, my activism, my writing, my teaching, all of this. I think these are things which I'm not just doing them because I'm young, I'm not just doing them because I'm the world's youngest teacher, those things. I think that they'll really continue to stay with me as I grow older.
How do you think this thing will change? Because now it's a novelty, like, you're young, you're a kid, you're the world's youngest teacher, but as you grow older, that will kind of fade out.
Yes.
Right? So what are you expecting?
Well, what I'm expecting is that hopefully I'll be able to, by doing teaching, I want to expand, I want to start schools, I want to really get more kids involved in teaching their teachers, even looking at the education system, trying to make reforms. So as I grow older and I suddenly become eligible perhaps to, say, get a job in government, reforming education or something like that, then I can take on even bigger roles.
So do you, sorry it's going on too long, I just want a few more questions. Do you just want to focus on the US, or like now in our world there's obviously revolutions going on, you watch the news? What would you say to those kind of youth? What would you say to this region, students in this region?
Well, we've seen evidenced how powerful voicing young people is, whatever country it's in. We've seen how integrated young people are in revolutions, in social networking, and using these powerful technological tools. And so I think that if we want to continue forward in developing our education system, we really have to, we can't ignore social networking, we can't ignore the tools that young people are using, and say we're going to teach the same way as we did in the 1700s and 1600s. So I think that education will grow to finally actually be adapted to the students' needs and the students' interests instead of those.
And you're a part of that, right? Because you give teacher training in integrating technology.
Yes.
Can you just tell me a bit about that? Like, how do you teach them? What do you teach them?
Well, I teach over video conferencing, and actually, sorry, I should have addressed your question about the worldwide approach more, but actually with the video conferencing, yes, I do have a worldwide reach. I try to not focus just on the US, but also on other continents. And so I teach these teachers about, firstly, why they should be getting involved with education technology, why they should be bringing technology to their classroom, because it is a bother, and things will go wrong, but it's really worth it. And so I give them lots of examples as well of things which have gone really well and things that they can use, and just sharing with them the voice of students on why they want social networking and blogging and tools like that in their classroom.
Okay. And lastly, what are your hobbies? As a normal person, as a normal kid, what do you like to do? What do you enjoy?
Well, aside from writing and teaching and speaking, I really love playing outside. And this is something that it's a little bit more difficult for me to do now in our backyard, but I would love to make mud pies out of mud. Again, as I grow a little more conscious of my image, but definitely playing outside, talking with my sister, watching viral videos, occasionally YouTube comedians, and also ice skating and roller skating, all kinds of stuff.
When you just said become conscious of your image, do you find that media pressure, is it growing? Do you find, how are you getting more conscious of your image?
Oh, with the more conscious, no, the more conscious of my image as far as like getting deep in the mud in the backyard. That wasn't like because I was worried about paparazzi or something. It was no, just because I don't want to bother having to wash all the mud off or something.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas when I was like 5 or 6, it's
Okay.
run
So you're
around.
growing up.
Yeah.
And are your friends intimidated by you?
Some of my friends will occasionally comment because I'm like, oh yeah, this is my picture with so and so, and I don't like name dropping at all, but I'll occasionally post this on my Facebook or something. Here's my pictures of relatively famous people, and then my friends will be like, wow, you're famous. That sort of thing blows me a little bit, but otherwise it's pretty hard to, I wouldn't say that I really speak a huge amount about my conferences and teaching and that sort of thing when I'm with my friends.
One last question, I promise, and we'll get into the video. Who have you met? Who have you met that's inspired you? Who's like you were starstruck and wow, I met this person?
Well, I've been starstruck by a lot of people just because we went to the TED conference in California and we were pretty much the paparazzi of TED. And the following year at TED Global, they actually said to the audience, don't try to take pictures with famous people, and I'm wondering if they saw us scampering around too much. But I would say some people who really inspire me would be a few that I've met actually. Lois Lowry, a writer, very good writer, and she really puts a lot of feeling into her work as well as reading. And something that I appreciate is that she doesn't dumb down literature for me. She really makes it, she comments on her events and thought, and so she's someone I really admire as a writer. And then also, as far as people I've met, I met Will Smith, the actor.
Oh, nice.
And that was a really cool moment, and I really admire him because of the work he does for education, as well as the fact that in his own children you see that he's not limiting them, he's not saying, okay, I'm not going to let my kids do this because I don't want them to have this pressure and stuff like that, so that's something I really appreciate. And then also I met Steve Wozniak of Apple, and after he left Apple, he did a lot of teaching about computers, computer literacy, and that was something that I really admired.
And you read 3 books a day, is that right? Or is that just something I read?
I do, I would say on average, as far as the amount of books I read per month, but now with my traveling, because sometimes taking a thick book with me doesn't always work, then I would do more reading, say on blogs and newspapers.
So how do you read 3 books a day?
A lot of it is, and they're reasonably sized books, they're usually 1 page. A lot of it is just the fact that I read fairly quickly, and this ends up, I reread all of my books because I end up where I might have missed a few words here and there.
Okay.
By reading quickly, and then also just knowing a lot of vocabulary words that helps, because that's something that slows down a lot of people. You come across a word, you don't know it, you just look it up. So.
Okay. And last, I promise, what do you write about? I mean, I know what Flying Fingers is about. It's about writing, and your this is poetry, right? Not saying this is the newest one, right?
Yes.
Poems with your sister. But you write 330,000 words a month, was it? Or
oh, I don't know the exact numbers.
no, I mean just as something I've read. So
I do write a lot every month, and sometimes when you combine like my blogs, my poems, my articles, and my stories, short stories, it probably come to a fair number of words, but I don't so there would word count.
That was a long time, kind of before.
Oh, okay, that's what I figured. Yeah, when I was around 7 and 8, I would write a short story every day, and now I'm trying to strike that up again, writing a short story every day, but when I'm on a plane for 12 hours, it's a little more difficult. But as far as what I write about my subjects, a lot of them include really strong girl characters as the main characters. I really like, and you'll see this happening a lot, when I wrote Flying Fingers, I was obsessed with medieval weaponry, and so people will be having their chainmail armor and things like that. So I would write about really important topics sometimes. Now I've been trying to model my writing after some of the works of authors I read, because I think that, I wouldn't say copying, but learning from others and kind of taking a similar approach to your own work is a really good way to learn about literature. So I've been using that.
okay. Joyce, just one